Hey, everybody, and thanks for joining us here for episode 2 of Webinar Shorts from the RRC. I'm Molly Davis, President and CEO of the RRC. We're so excited to share some quick tips with you. I'm not going to talk much today because I've come down with a little cold, so I'm going to kick it to the team here in just a second. But just a quick note, this is very surface level because we are doing this in a very short period of time. As you know, we want to be good stewards of your very busy schedule. So this is really meant to kind of get your ideas, get your brain thinking about some ideas. But when you want to do a deeper dive, we encourage you to get in touch with us, and we can do that with you. I want to remind you, we do have the Q&A available, so drop your questions in there and we can address them either at the end or during the presentation. You can also drop messages in the chat. Feel free to say hi, let us know where you're joining from. We've got this scheduled for 20 minutes, but we can always hang on a little longer after the presentation to make sure that we address all of your questions. So with that, we're going to get started, and I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful team here, David, Dave, and Carl.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you all for joining us today for this short snackable webinar on how to use your data for underwriting development to turn your data into a potential source for revenue and retention. Why this matters, we know why we're here. We have seen the CPB be defunded, the rescission bill took away money already allocated, and whether or not your station receives any CPB funding, we are in an economy that is slowing down, and it is imperative upon all of us to build stronger pipelines of revenue for every non-commercial station, whatever your format may be. And so reviewing your Nielsen data with all of your station stakeholders is paramount. Whether you're in programming, underwriting, membership, marketing, even your board of directors, it is imperative to understand what your data is showing you, what it's telling you, and how it can improve outcomes. Stronger underwriting also allows you to create opportunities for more collaboration with membership and programming. It can help you to develop fresh ideas. Could you craft an underwriting proposal, as an example, that has a carve out for an event sponsorship? So your client is getting their on-air spots and a supplemental allocation of spots and inclusions in your newsletters and title and signage on site at the event itself. Could you also perhaps develop a pitch using your data for sponsorship of a specific program or day part? If you have a high acuing specialty show, for example, is there an opportunity to bring in an underwriter to present that show as a sponsor? And underwriting teams have a chance to grow incremental revenue and retain your sponsors by taking your audience data to show underwriters and potential underwriters your reach, your impression volume, your loyalty to your station, your TSL metrics, showing them the demographics that if you are, as an example, the asterisk that's here, if you subscribe to Scarborough through TabScan Web, you're getting a lot of data that can show where your station indexes, where your audience indexes relative to the market itself in 118 different categories. And so if you're pitching a car dealer, for example, or a home appliance retailer, you have a chance to show how strong your audience is in purchase intent in those categories with a data-backed case that is persuasive and also allows you to find a fit that, as an example, if an advertiser is looking for 35 to 44-year-old adults for a specific product and your station is strong there and also strong, and we'll talk about this more in a moment, in the adjacent demographics, you have a chance to provide a bonus to them because you have that much deeper of a pool of potential customers for that business through your radio station. That's very difficult for other media outlets to accomplish.
I should mention that retail spending power is there even if you don't subscribe to Scarborough. That it's just government data that Nielsen gets, and then they're using your Nielsen numbers with it. So it's there. Scarborough is even more categories. You can subscribe to Scarborough, but RSP is there even if you don't subscribe to Scarborough.
Thanks, Carl. So anyone who has ever worked in radio and underwriting in particular has dealt with rejection. You hear objections from potential sponsors, whether they're through an agency or direct. Often you'll hear media buyers say things like radio doesn't work. They dismiss it as a viable option. The data available to you through your Nielsen portal is giving you the evidence to make a case that counters those objections. And so, and a suggestion you can see on the slide, knowing the terms that agencies use, familiarize yourselves. As my friend Dave Sullivan often says, non-commercial radio is 90% creative and 10% business. Commercial radio is 90% business and 10% creative. We need to kind of move those a little bit closer together for the non-commercial side of things. And one of the ways to accomplish that is to speak the agency language, because they are controlling a flow of a high volume of dollars in your market that could be placed on your station. And it may be worthwhile to develop an agency kit for your station that includes data on your CUME, your TSL, your demographic information that you can update quickly as new survey data is released, and may have an ongoing templated piece that you can customize for an agency rather than starting from scratch every time out there. I would also suggest perhaps consider hosting an event for agency teams in your market if you have a decent volume of them. It could be an open house that gives them a tour of the station, perhaps lets them spend a minute in the on-air studio or production room, get to see how the station operates. You could perhaps host a lunch with a host that may be popular. Give them a chance to, give yourselves a chance to educate these agency folks on your station, at your station. Let them really see what goes on. As the saying goes, how the sausage gets made. It's also a very productive way to build relationships with these folks that you can come back to when you're pitching them for a buy on your radio station. The demographic matchmaking is really important in that it shows where your audience lines up with the buyer's desired target audience and where you're strongest in specific categories. So audience loyalty and time spent listening can be very helpful. If you have high time spent listening, you can make a case that the listener's familiarity rather is aided by repeated exposure, and so the messaging will cut through faster than it would on a station with lower TSL, because they're going to hear it more frequently and absorb that message faster as a result of that. Again, is there a chance for an underwriting client to sponsor a specific program or a specific hour? A few minutes ago, we mentioned different demographics and adjacencies. So if a car dealer wants adults 35-44, your station over-indexes in this demographic, as well as in the adjacent 25-34 and 55-64 demos. Include that information. It's a bonus to the dealer. They're going to reach likely buyers as a bonus. And in this moment where tariffs are having an impact on pricing, consumer spending is down, there's a lot of confusion and concern in the marketplace among consumers. Holiday sales are projected to be down 5% this year over compared to last year in the holiday season. The time to get in front of potential buyers, whether it's through an agency or a direct purchase, is right now. Start developing your Q4 plans if you haven't right now. Where can you pull folks in? And whether that's for cars, home appliances, perhaps home services, whether that's home services like contractors, remodelers, or especially in public radio with older audiences, tax preparation services, estate planning services, long-term care planning. All of those things are out there and create opportunities for you to get those messages to your audience at a solid rate for your station and build that new pipeline.
David.
Yes.
We've got a question in the chat. And I think this is going back to, Carl, what you noted a couple of minutes ago, that Lou is asking, our station doesn't subscribe to Scarborough qualitative data. Did you say there is another way for us to access that information? So maybe you can unpack that a little bit more.
Retail spending power is there, because that's just government data, and then they're applying your Nielsen data to it. But Scarborough, is an additional fee from Nielsen, because it's a completely separate survey with hundreds of qualitative categories.
Yeah, so retail spending power is a component of TAP scan. So what David's talking about is a way to use both of those, quantify your listeners in dollars with retail spending power, then go to Scarborough as a next step to look at the indexes for the category of the prospect.
Well said. And we can address more of that shortly, but that's a great way to phrase it. Thank you.
So there's some qualitative data already available in TAPSCAN, but what's available in Scarborough is much more robust.
Yep. And Scarborough is typically updated twice a year in major markets. David, correct me if I'm wrong. It's twice a year in major markets and once a year in the smaller markets. Is that?
Oh, Carl would know the smaller markets better than me, but yes, in the major markets,
Yeah.
it's not a completely new survey. All it is a 2-book rolling average. So it's a full year of data minimum that you're looking at. It's just every time a new update comes out, like in November this year, a new 6 months comes on, the oldest 6 months falls off. But Carl, what about the smaller markets?
Yeah, the really small markets get a smaller number of categories, right? And they're only out once a year.
Got it. Thank you, guys. And again, if you have more questions about those RSP reports or Scarborough, excuse me, we encourage you to schedule time one-on-one with Dave, Carl, or myself. We're happy to walk you through it and help you to use that data to build a pipeline or a pitch for an underwriting client that you're pitching currently or preparing to.
There is one other thing you can get if you're just a Nielsen subscriber, and you're not adding on Scarborough. There is some socioeconomic data. There are questions they ask in the back of the diary. I think it's there in PPM too, Dave. I think they have this stuff there too. So it's a custom. You have to go into demo in TAPSCAN and get custom, and it will give you information about income, about how many people live in the household, education level, how many children they have, whether they are work part-time, full-time, all that kind of stuff. So there are a few questions that they ask of Nielsen subscribers, so you can get a little bit of socioeconomic data through the custom tab in TAPSCAN demographics.
Thanks, Carl. That's great. TSL and occasions. So occasions, just the frequency with which people tune in to your station. And so loyalty is how long they listen. Excuse me. Pairing your cum and your loyalty demonstrates the smart reach that your station has. And as you're making the case to underwriters, potential underwriters, especially the ones that are prospects at this stage, we shouldn't assume that people know everything about our station. We live very close to this, and the underwriters you're vying for their attention among myriad other sources. Are these potential underwriters aware of your station's programming lineup day to day? Have you sent them, or if you haven't, consider sending them a program guide and highlight specific shows that might be best suited to their business? So you're not hyping them on listening personally, although that's certainly welcome that they want to do so, but that they are aware of where you have shows that will fit their business. There's a lot of folks that if they have not ever underwritten on a public station before and aren't regular listeners to public radio, may have some outdated or misinformed impressions of what public radio is. This is your chance to help to correct that and shape the perception so that your prospect has a clear sense of not only what public radio does generally, but who your station serves specifically and how they listen and the shows that are most popular among your local audience, and demystify a lot of what they may see and hear about public media at this stage of the game. So action steps: running AQH and GRP reports for your top day parts. If you don't know how to do so, again, we would be happy to help you to do so and learn how to do this. If your station is not currently subscribing to TAPSCAN Web, we'd be happy to have a conversation with you and learning how to take advantage of those tools. IQP reports, which are independent qualitative, IQP reports help to show listener habits and behaviors. So Dave, if you want to dive in for a second, I'm going to put you on the spot. Share a little bit more about what IQP reports are and why they're beneficial.
Yeah, IQPs are one of the reports based on Scarborough data, and essentially, like everything in life, to me, strength is weakness. It's the yin and the yang. At the end of the day, it's a very weak report. But that's a good thing because David and I were talking yesterday about what the average reading level is of the population. So you and I living in this data can't assume the prospects and business owners we're meeting with have that same, efficiency with buying, advertising, underwriting, and those things. So the IQP strength is all it is a profile of either the market, your station, or best, the client category of business you're talking to. And from there on, all it is simple demographic information, socioeconomic information. Here's what the income level is of your listeners. Here's the income level of our station. Here's the education, and so on and so forth. So it's a very simple report, easiest thing to learn. And like I like to say too, do they still do, David, cold calling in this business? To me, it's a place where if you still get business cards, take your business card, staple it to the top. And when you do your cold calling in downtown Worcester, you leave this behind with the prospects because we've all gone into businesses where, I'm sorry, the decision maker isn't in right now. Please give them this. They cannot misinterpret that information without you there. So there's your card. There's a little bit of information. Hopefully it sparks their curiosity.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave. And also, IQP reports can be useful if you're pitching an underwriting prospect and determining the roads that your listeners take most frequently when they commute to and from work and how long they are spending commuting to and from work each day. In-car listening, obviously still being a primary driver of consumption. And so knowing that, it can help you to structure a proposal that is a heavy concentration on morning drive or afternoon drive because you have a higher volume of listeners tuned in on the road at that time in a captive audience. Compare that to your top performing programs. So if you have high traffic in the afternoon, literal traffic in your area in the afternoon, and all things considered is doing well on your station, there's an opportunity to pitch a premium underwriting package to a potential prospect, or to a prospect, I should say, that is otherwise meets all of the criteria that will benefit from running a program on your station. The other suggestion I would add here is if you're a member of your local Chamber of Commerce and or BNI group, you already know that these are great places to develop potential relationships. If you're not a member of your local Chamber of Commerce or a BNI group, I would urge you to join one as soon as you can, and also offer your Chamber of Commerce, if your station has physical space to do so, to host a meeting at your radio station. Let the Chamber of Commerce members come to your station, meet with you, meet with hosts, get a sense. People always have the oohs and ahs when they come to a radio station. It's all very cool to them. It gives them a chance to be impressed and to give you an opportunity to develop a more personal relationship with them and showcase the real value that you bring, not only to their business, but to the communities that you're serving. In my previous incarnation as a GM at a local radio station here in Worcester, I sold a lot of underwriting out of necessity. We were a small staff, and I belonged to a Chamber of Commerce networking group that met bi-weekly, and I pulled in high five figures in business out of that group just by showing up every 2 weeks, doing a presentation, just chatting with folks in between sessions and after sessions. It's a great way to drive acquisition and, as a side effect, get some new listener sampling at least coming through for your radio station. We want to make sure you have the resources you need. So this glossary of terms, the QR code you see on your screen, brings you to the glossary of terms on the RRC's website. We know that not everyone is as familiar with terms like AQH and TSL and QM as we are. We live these things day to day. It's great for new team members, especially if they have not sold radio before, aren't familiar with radio's ins and outs of terminology. This is a great resource to bookmark and save for that purpose. I'll leave this up for another second so you can scan it. And we're right at the 20-minute mark, so I'm going to get to our final slide here. This is how you can reach any of us. The main phone number is there. Our extensions and email addresses are there, along with a QR code that will take you to rrconline.org. Again, we encourage you to schedule time with us. We are happy to speak with you and help you develop ideas, as well as learning how to use the tools that you're subscribing to now to develop more underwriting prospects and bring more business in through Q4 heading into 2026.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? No?
I'm just dropping the web link to our website into the chat. And I don't see any questions, any additional questions in here. We'll give it a minute or two more. There's some comments. Nicole says, this was great. Thank you. Joy says, thank you. Great idea to let the chamber meet at the station. Janine, thanks. Lots of good reminders regarding using our data. Luann says, I can vouch for the benefit of being a chamber member and being in a BNI group. Both are great for my business. So lots of thank yous and positive comments there.
If I can jump in for 1 second on the chambers. So if you're in a more rural area, there often, I can't say there always are, but there are quite often regional chambers of commerce that serve, multiple counties. I always want to default to DMAs. That's what we do. But there are regional chambers of commerce in most places if there's not a local city chamber of commerce. And sometimes you can visit other chambers if they're in the listening area and go make your case there.
The last thing I'll add, just real quickly, because I forgot to mention it at the beginning, is that when this webinar concludes, there will be a survey on the screen. And we'd be grateful if you'd take just a couple of minutes to complete the survey. I think it's only like 8 questions or so, but it helps us make these better so that we're providing information in the way that's the most useful for you and giving you not just in the way, but the information that you most need. So we appreciate the feedback. If you'll take time to do that survey, we'd be grateful. And I don't see any other questions.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the time today.
All right. Thanks so much for being with us today, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See ya.